Look at chapter 3, verse 11. The second component of a real servant that's empowered is, chapter 3, verse 11, and Jehoshaphat said, "Is there no prophet of the Lord here that we may inquire?" And one of the servants of Israel, of the king of Israel, answered and said, "Elisha, the son of Shaphat, is here, who poured water on the hands of Elijah." You know what that means? He learned to do humble, menial servant work. I mean, it wasn't a big deal. He had to go and do what Christ did. He'd get the towel, and he'd get the pitcher, and he didn't do his feet, he did his hands. And the mighty prophet Elijah would stand there with his hands out, and Elisha would pour the water on him, and he'd take and wash his hands. And you know what he learned? He learned by humble service. You know, that's the pathway to greatness is humble service. That's what Christ said. I don't know if it's in many of the management books nowadays, but you know what the Lord said? He said the way up is down. The way to the front is to the end. He said when someone invites you to the feast, remember what he said? Go sit at the back table. And then when they're walking around, they'll go, "Oh, you should be up here at the head table." And then you'll have honor instead of parking, and trying to... You ever notice people, they try and take the best seats, the best... If you sit in those best seats and the head of the feast comes by, the Lord said, they'll say, "Could you please move? I need this chair." Isn't that embarrassing? Wouldn't you rather sit at the back and be brought up, the Lord said? Learn, secondly, by humble service. Thirdly, he learned impartiality, and that's in chapter 4, 1 through 37. And basically, what he learned there is, he was a man that learned to serve God completely, whether or not. You notice this widow had nothing to offer him, and that's in verses 1 through 7. And the Shunammite were so wealthy that they added on to their house and made him his own condo. And you know what? He served them both the same. God is no respect of persons. And that word respect of persons is he doesn't make a judgment based on someone's face. Whether it's clean or dirty or black or white, or whether it's wealthy or whatever. He doesn't make a value judgment on our face. That is one of the signs of servanthood. He learned impartiality. He was not prejudiced. He was not partial to people. He did not have respective faces. Fourthly, he learned to do things God's way. Boy, now we're getting the tough stuff. I mean, most of us can follow a bit. We can do humble stuff. We can try to be impartial. But you know where it really gets hard? Doing stuff God's way instead of our way. You ever struggle with that? The Lord says, dun, 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 dun. And we go, dun, 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 dun. And he goes, dun, 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 dun. And we go, Well, chapter 5 is all about that. And we're going to go in depth in this. But Nahum the leper, God wanted to do something great for him. He wanted to take this exalted man and totally devastate him and humble him. And then he wanted to do a miracle on him. Well, did you know that Elisha had to cooperate? I mean, one of the examples, verse 9 of chapter 5, Nahum went with his horses, his chariots, and he didn't have horses and chariots alone. He brought $1.495 million with him 3,000 years ago. Do you know how much $1.5 million would have bought 3,000 years ago? I mean, you could have bought all of North America, I bet. I mean, everything, and a lot more. I mean, can you imagine? And that outside of Elisha's door was this guy in verse 5 that had 10 talents of silver, $160,000, because a talent's 16 grand. So he had $160,000 in silver, which is an awful lot as far as just carrying that around. And then he had 6,000 shekels of gold. That's $1.28 million. That's 2 talents. That's 200 pounds of gold. And 10 changes of clothes. And here he is in verse 9 with his horses, his chariot, and this, can you imagine him in full battle dress outside the door? And you know what God said to Elisha? Don't go out. Don't even answer the door. Can you imagine that? Having this mighty warrior and all that loot outside. He had to learn to do things God's way. We'll come back to that because it's a beautiful story. And God humbles Nahum in 9 specific ways. I want to point them out to you later.